Hi, everybody. Welcome to Reader's Intrigue, where authors are going to read the first chapter of their book so that we can be intrigued and maybe find a new book to read. Get comfy, get cozy. Let's listen.
Hello, my name is Jim Marshall. I am the discoverer of hitherto unknown natural phenomena which greatly aid in the understanding of people, from which I developed a revolutionary practical philosophic system and published it in the book Septemics, Hierarchies of Human Phenomena. This is a textbook on a new subject called Septemics. Many years of direct observation has shown that this book would dramatically improve the life of anyone who takes advantage of it. As to my qualifications, I am a polymathic intellectual whose areas of expertise include psychology, philosophy, theology, parapsychology, science, engineering, mathematics, law, literature, history, metaphysics, military science, political science, physical culture, education, organization, and music. And I hold a Bachelor of Science cum laude from City University of New York. Septemics is a philosophical science based on the fact that many phenomena related to people occur in a sequence of 7 levels. Literally, the word septemics means of or pertaining to 7. Septemics comprises a collection of scales or sequences, each of which breaks down various human phenomena into a hierarchy of 7 steps. There are 35 such scales, which span the spectrum of human experience, by which I mean any situation in the life of any person can successfully be analyzed by one or more of these scales. There are 24 scales which apply primarily to individuals and 11 which apply primarily to groups. Septemics is based on natural law. These scales were discovered empirically over many decades. There is no theory of septemics. These scales have mathematics embedded within them, and anything which has mathematics embedded within it is natural law. Because these scales are based upon natural law, they resonate with the reader. I wrote this book to help people. Each of these 35 scales provides the user with an infallible way of determining the salutariness or beneficialness of any group, individual, or activity. If the group, individual, or activity moves persons or groups up these scales, it's beneficial or positive. If it moves them down, it's detrimental or negative. More importantly, just finding out what level you or another person is at on any of these scales is by itself enlightening and beneficial. Finally, once you know the actual level of a person or group on any scale, you can improve that person or group by moving them up one level at a time. All of these advantages represent major steps forward for society. Each of these scales is an axis against which to evaluate human phenomena. Combined, they empower one to understand, predict, and manage human affairs to a degree hitherto unattainable by most. The data in this book are vital for every human being and can help you to achieve your goals faster and easier by explaining what might otherwise seem to be inexplicable or random. If someone were to invite you to a rendezvous, you would certainly expect them to tell you the exact time, date, and location, and perhaps also how to get there. Needless to say, it's very difficult to get somewhere if you don't know where you are, don't know where you're going, and don't know how to get to your destination. Now, this sounds idiotic, but most people do this regularly. For example, when I started driving extensively before GPS units, I was surprised to learn how many people did not know geographically precisely where they were, nor exactly how to get there. More often than not, my request for directions was requited by vague and often inaccurate instructions, which often did more harm than good. I learned to ask only for the address and then look it up on a good map. If this is so with physical locations, it's even more so with conceptual locations because they're abstract. Most people wander through life aimlessly, so much so that it's considered normal, whether discussing politics, career, romance, finances, health, you name it. Most people do not know where they are going, nor how to get there. If you want to improve your or another's condition, these scales are very useful because each scale is a roadmap for some area of human activity. It enables you to find out precisely where you are going, and how to get there, given some specific context. Each of these scales dispels confusion by orienting the person in his situation. Confusion is the result of disorientation. Consequently, when a person knows where he stands, he can think much more clearly about that area. These scales facilitate the ascertainment of one's present location or condition, one's immediate objective, and the pathway to achieve it in some given context. No matter where you are, nor where you're trying to go, these scales can help you arrive more swiftly and less painfully. You can use this book by finding your level, meaning present condition or present location, on the appropriate scale, which also tells you the next level up, your immediate destination, and the next level down, where you will wind up if you fail, and puts it all in the context of where you have been and where you are headed. These are the names of the scales. The individual scales are the scale of basic purposes, the scale of personal influence, the scale of choice, the scale of permeation, the scale of thought, the scale of identity, the scale of evaluation, the scale of motivation, the scale of control, the scale of stopping, the scale of scholarship, the scale of literacy, the scale of human ability, the scale of memory, the scale of spiritual identity, the scale of mental deletion, the scale of aberration, the scale of physical fitness, the scale of justification, the scale of belief, the scale of equanimity, the scale of attack, the scale of conflict, and the scale of reaction. And the group scales are the scale of relationships, the scale of life spheres, the scale of government, the scale of civilization, the scale of survival, the scale of management, the scale of exchange, the scale of communication, the scale of allegiance, the scale of sexuality, and the scale of politics. Each of these scales is expressed in a table that resembles the periodic table of elements, but for each of the corresponding 35 subjects. Each of these tables is a roadmap for the corresponding area of life and is unique. One cannot infer anything about scale A by studying scale B. Between them, they cover human phenomena. An extremely useful datum of septemics is that one can only move to the level immediately above or below. Next to not knowing what level one is at, the most common failing in life is attempting to move to a level that is not adjacent to the level one is occupying. It is always impossible to skip a level. Occasionally, one might go through a level swiftly, easily, or without realizing it, but one went through nevertheless. If you study these scales carefully and use them to resolve your confusions and dilemmas, your life will improve. The more carefully you study the scales and the more diligently and frequently you apply them, the more benefit you will receive. Whenever a situation or question arises in your life, turn to the appropriate chapter and analyze the situation against the relevant scale. Specifically, I would advise you to go through each relevant scale and find your level, either generally or as regards some specific context, by an honest inspection of behavior and situation. I'm not advising you to tell anyone what level you are at, as you may wish to keep that to yourself. Once you are sure you are at a particular level, try to get the idea of being at the next level up. Ask yourself, how would that manifest? Then, work out a plan for how you would move up to the next level. If you are correct about what level you are in, it will not be difficult in most cases to figure out what to do next, however arduous or lengthy that task might be. If you cannot work out how to get up to the next level, generally, it's either because you are at a different level than the one you think, or you have not fully comprehended the text. If you do these steps thoroughly for each scale, you will undergo a metamorphosis. In the case of a few scales, it might not be possible for you to go up a level in the near future, but merely knowing what level you are at will help considerably. I strongly advise against ever divulging the level of any living person on any scale, as doing so would be unethical and counterproductive. Rather, get the person to figure it out for himself, and the person will have a realization about the situation. The best way to introduce someone to Septemics is to use a specific scale to help the person resolve a specific problem. This is done as follows. Get the person to explain the situation fully. Then select the appropriate scale or scales for the situation. If you have studied the scales well, this should be easy, if not obvious. For example, if one is having spousal difficulties, consult the scale of sexuality and the scale of allegiance. Or if one is having health difficulties, consult the scale of physical fitness. Next, have the person study the glossary for the corresponding chapter and ensure he understands all the words. Then, have the person study the entire scale carefully, being certain the reader knows the correct definition of each word. When he's done studying the scale, ask him if he has any questions about it or disagreements with it. If so, clear these up. Next, help him to find where he is on the scale. This step alone should bring considerable relief. If it does not, you probably have selected the wrong level, or less likely, the wrong scale. Time spent on this is a wise investment. You might ask, how are you manifesting this level? Often, this is all one need do, as one will usually have a realization about the situation as a result of this step. Then help the person to work out a handling that will move him up one level. If you have the right level, this is often easy. A useful technique in this regard is to get the person to visualize first being at the level one is at, and then ask him to transform that visualization into being at the next higher level. When he has done so, ask him how close he came to complete transformation. Then, repeat this entire visualization technique until either he says he got all the way there or has a relevant realization and is pleased with the result. If you really want to clean up someone's life, either generally or as regards some specific area, help the person to find one's level on all relevant scales, and then coach him to move up one level for each scale. Done correctly, this would bring about major improvements in the person's life. When you are working with a person with these scales, watch the person carefully. When he finds the right level, he will look happier, relieved, brighter, etc. If the person looks worse after selecting a level, he probably has selected the wrong level. If he voices a positive realization, you have found the correct level. If it is not obvious whether or not you have the correct level, ask, how does that seem to you? And observe the response closely. If you do all of this well, people will wonder if you are some kind of genius or mind reader, because you will get positive results with so little effort. Parents can use these scales to help their children. Spouses can use these scales to help their mates. Pastors can use these scales to help their parishioners. Counselors can use these scales to help their clients. Bosses can use these scales to help their workers. Teachers can use these scales to help their students, and so forth. Everyone should use this book to help oneself, one's friends, one's loved ones, and one's teammates. As with anything else, you will become more adept as you gain experience. These scales apply to people in general, across all lines, be they gendered, racial, ethnic, historical, social, religious, cultural, economic, educational, professional, geographic, national, etc. These scales transcend any other categories of people. Needless to say, the person must make an effort to get these scales to help him in order for them to work. Septemics is for anyone who can read English and wishes to improve oneself or one's life. I designed these scales to wrap around the reader, so they are extremely user-friendly. I hope you will utilize Septemics to make a better life for yourself and those around you. That's what it's for. I invite you to visit septemics.com. That's septemics.com. On that website, you can read what many readers have said about it, what many journalists have written about it, what the reviews say, and you can read sections of the book itself. The book is available in hardbound, softbound, and ebook, and can be purchased wherever books are sold, including Amazon or Barnes & Nobles. Thanks for listening.
Thank you again to the amazing author that read us a story, and be sure to check out all the other amazing shows on RB Media. Till next time, bye!